Oh boy, where do I begin? This past year, the Resident Evil franchise has been a really big part of my life. It's honestly been a wild ride. This year was rough for me, and the series helped me get through a lot. So what are we here to talk about today? Resident Evil Village. Resident Evil Village is the 8th installment to the Resident Evil franchise, and I literally just started playing it. So I'm going to keep you guys updated and give you my thoughts on the game so far. Resident Evil Village is a good take on survival horror, and I am so happy they brought into the spotlight a brand new protagonist in RE7, Ethan Winters, because I absolutely love his character. This game has me on the edge of my seat and has some of the scariest boss battles and monsters that I've seen yet in the Resident Evil franchise. One example being the baby creature that basically just torments Ethan, and Angie, that creepy doll thing. And believe me, if you know me, you know how terrified I am of dolls. Those things creep the shit out of me. I honestly didn't know how I was going to feel about the fact that the game is in first person rather than third person, because I can't help but see a true Resident Evil game to be in the third person. But I think that they pulled it off really well, and I honestly wouldn't have it any other way. I find the first person to be a good switch up from the previous games I've played in the series. The Lycans, which are the werewolf looking creatures at the beginning of the game, are a new parasite called the Kadu. I don't really know how to pronounce it, but honestly they're super scary. These things are creepy and I love the design of them. It's very different from previous enemies in the past games. Another thing I'm happy about with this game is they fixed whatever the hell was wrong with Chris in the 7th game. I was literally about to start a war over a Not My Chris petition because of how bad the Chris was. Chris in this game is older and he's rocking the trench coat and beard Billy Butcher style.
And your little Bieber edging in the back of your RAV4 in the car park.
Honestly, Chris looks completely different in every single game he's been in, no matter what. It's just very confusing, to be honest.
Oh shit.
There you are. All this for a child who isn't even here.
The game has some really interesting characters in it, like Lady Dimitrescu, Heisenberg, as I said earlier, Angie, the Dimitrescu sisters, and that one weird, I forget her name, but it was the lake fish monster creature. That thing was pretty creepy. Lady Dimitrescu is a vampire. She's one of the most interesting characters and definitely a very memorable one as well. The game revealed that she has a hereditary blood disease which requires her to regularly consume human flesh and blood, and all of her wine also involves blood. Her mission in the story, where you have to sneak around past her, was very interesting and fun to do, trying your hardest to not get caught or jump scared. The Dimitrescu daughters, on the other hand, are vampiric witches that were once human beings. The bugs that make up and form the sisters were bred from Mother Miranda's creation. Honestly, when I played for the first time, defeating the daughters was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. I honestly didn't even struggle when it came to fighting any of them, but they're still a good addition to the game, and they most likely weren't meant to be the hardest battles in the game, so that's okay. Heisenberg was kidnapped and injected with the Kadu parasite experiments by Mother Miranda, who also tried to brainwash him into being her servant, with barely any success. Eventually he did become one of her servants though. His part in the game was definitely my least favorite part, only because it reminds me too much of the laboratory chapters in Resident Evil 4 Remake. That doesn't mean it's a bad part in the game though, I still had lots of fun playing through it. I guess right now would probably be a good time for me to bring up the fact that you can indeed play the game in third person, but you need the Winters expansion pack in order to do so, which honestly isn't that bad of a deal if you're more of a third person fan like myself. But the one thing is, they're still very persistent and hesitant on not letting us viewers see his face. Like, I'm deadass wondering what this guy even looks like. All jokes aside, that cosplay was really good. I don't even know what the fuck I'm on about. Moving back to the villains and characters, let's talk about that fish monster. Moru is how I think you say her name. That thing is friggin' ugly, man. It was even ugly before it turned into the damn fish thing. In my opinion, I think it was uglier. Honestly, this battle was really fun and entertaining, and the lead up to it was very fun as well. It had some interesting and unique puzzles to it that I enjoyed going through while I was playing. Now to talk about the final servant of Mother Miranda, Angie, which honestly, as much as I hate dolls, her section in the game was my favorite section, mainly because of one key factor, and that was the creepy baby monster. Yes, the whole doll part was also very fun and interesting, but the main target to why I love it so much is that baby. It was so friggin' scary, especially when you're playing in the pitch black with headphones. It was so creepy, yet it was also so much fun. I remember the first time I realized that you get to play as Chris Redfield, I was so happy because Chris is one of my favorite characters in the Resident Evil universe. After Resident Evil 5 and Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Ultimate playing as Chris, I've loved his character so much. It's still a shame that we never got to play as Leon in MVC3 because that would have been so badass to see. But back to RE8, the whole Chris section of the game had to be my favorite part of the whole game just because of the fact that you play as Chris himself. When I tell you how much I love Chris, I'm being dead serious. And then on to the final battle against Mother Miranda, which honestly was an okay battle. It was a little short for my liking. I would have liked if it was a little longer, but all in all, it was still a fine boss battle. Finally saving Rose was like a breath of fresh air, and I could feel Ethan's relief afterwards. The part that shocked me the most was his death. I was so not ready for that, and I was so shocked when it happened, but what shocked me even more was seeing the older Rose at the very end, and I was so pumped. So now I have to get the expansion, not only so I can play in the third person, but so I can play the DLC story to this game as well. The gameplay wasn't too bad in this game. It was a little basic for my liking, but I think it suits the game for some reason. I think it's really cool how Ethan is durable enough to block hits just by putting his arms up, unlike in Resident Evil 4 Remake where you had a knife to block attacks. The most confusing part about this game was the loadout case, honestly. There would be certain places I couldn't even get rid of items, so I couldn't pick up the equipment I wanted. The background and theme of the game was definitely really great. My favorite surrounding in the game was definitely the castle. I loved the castle parts with Lady Dimitrescu and the daughters, and the snowy village at the beginning was absolutely awesome. It gives off a completely different feel from the other games. I think they did such a great job with every little thing in this game, and it's definitely going to be so good for speedruns. Alright guys, well that's going to be it for the video. If you guys did enjoy, please make sure to let me know, and also let me know what you guys think about this game. It had a lot of interesting and great characters in the story, and the villains were definitely such good ones. Like, I knew who Lady Dimitrescu and Heisenberg were before I even started playing the game. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.